computer classes were like for the dumb kids. Like people would be like,
what? Yeah.
And they would, like she was trying to teach us like Mavis Beacon, like
Yes.
typing skills, and we're like, we're not here for that.
Does anyone else remember Mavis Beacon? Oh my
We
god.
are here to play.
And you hear a lot of creators now say you should spend more time creating than you do consuming.
I can't imagine now not having access to you, for example.
Mama always said, be careful of those island boys.
Hi, I'm Amanda.
And I'm Rumbi.
Welcome to It's Layered Podcast.
We're under the Blackcast Network, powered by iHeart, and today we are recording in studio, if you're watching.
Studio Rumbi. Oh my God, it's so good to have you here in Melbourne. It's unbelievable.
I know. I feel like we say that every time. Like if you haven't already listened to our special, we did definitely say that, but I won't lie, it definitely feels good to be in person, in studio, getting this thing going finally after all the weeks of planning.
For sure. And obviously you were here because we had our first ever live podcast show for Beyond the Valley Music Festival.
What a ride.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. It's a different ball game recording live in front of an audience.
Yeah, definitely.
That definitely was a learning curve for us, but we had fun and it was so surreal.
Yeah.
It was incredible.
Yeah. And this is more our vibe, you know, like in studio with a edit pause button. Whereas when you're live, you're like, here we go. So that was, I'm so surprised. There's so many podcasts out of the UK. If we're doing live podcasting, it's definitely another talent.
Definitely. But it's also a thrill, I think. And I'm so glad I got to do it with you, Amanda, for the first time. Where are we today?
So today we're at Bittersweet Studio, which we're so happy about. Like, you know, Black female-owned studio.
Yep.
And I'm recording with my fellow Black female podcaster. Yeah, this is such a special moment. As you can see, we've got a little setup going. Ruby, what do you think of the vibe of the setup?
The vibes are vibing, by the way. So the whole reason why we have this beautiful setup, which was done by the Pink Lady Picnics, you should check them out, they're incredible, is because we thought for season 6, we're going to write a love letter to women of color, and just celebrate ourselves. Because I think so often we're striving, and there's a lot of strife in this life. Hey, that's a bar right there. Yes. So we just thought, let's get into our soft girl era, okay? And if you're watching, you can see we're a little soft girly today.
For the girly pops. As you can tell, I just learned that word.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, definitely. It's our sort of gift to you, and to say, like, you're doing great, sweetie. Like, you know, shout out to you. You're working hard, doing the things, but also take time to celebrate you.
Yeah, definitely. I think especially as Black women, we're always in survival mode.
True.
All the time. And sometimes it's nice to just enjoy the vista, take a step back and actually really reflect on all the things that we do.
Yeah, 100%.
So definitely leaning into our soft girl era for this season.
For sure. Yeah. And so as we kick off season 6, which is wild for me, to even, like, I can't even remember. What did we talk about in season 5?
Yeah,
do you remember?
right?
I don't.
Season 5, they're not specials. Like,
yeah, it feels like eons ago. But today, we thought we would start with life before and after the internet.
Okay. We're showing our age today, okay?
Some people are like, there was life before?
Yeah, they're like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
No internet?
Yeah. So, I mean, before we get truly into that, between season 5 and the special, is there anything else that happened aside from BTV for us, for you?
Definitely. We joined the Blackcast Network, which is amazing. It's powered by iHeart, and it's a hub of diverse voices, obviously predominantly First Nations in Australia, but also people of color like us.
Yeah.
And I think it was quite important to us to join like-minded community. For sure. And definitely we feel like we're at home. Definitely check out Blackcast Network. They have a lovely roster of other podcasts to check out. And it's good to actually not only be about it, but also be a part of it, I think.
For sure. And you know, you were featured on an episode with Mundanara on hers podcast. And yeah, I think it's just great to have a family that we belong to.
Definitely.
Anything exciting happen in your personal life?
Ooh, personal life 2024. Mad blur.
Yeah.
It just feels like we were just grinding and working and working. I mean, not only to do BTV and to do this season, but also just on ourselves.
Yeah.
I can only say for myself, I really was like, okay, I was kind of in a slumber after, you know, motherhood, new motherhood, but now I'm more and more confident in my role and my life now.
Yeah.
So I feel like 2024 was kind of like rising from the dead.
Rising from the ashes.
Yeah, definitely
Phoenix
from the
rising.
ashes. So I'm quite excited for 2025. I feel like it's starting on a good foundation.
That's great. I'm happy for you.
Yeah. What about you?
2024 was thug life. I ain't even gonna hold you. Like thug life. I'm so glad we're done with that, and I hope 2025 comes right. Yeah, a lot of work, a lot of sweat, blood, tears, some great memories made. If you haven't listened to our Afro Nation episode, we went to Afro Nation in Portugal, which was incredible. Yeah, honestly, I can say I feel like worked hard. Hopefully, the fruits of our labor will come to fruition.
And you can feel them this season. Yeah,
that's what I hope
definitely. So, what do you think? All of the stuff we've talked about.
Yeah.
Do you remember a time before the internet? Like distinctly remember?
I remember at school when we got computers.
Oh, yes.
So like life, I think that's when I can switch on that light.
Yeah.
Where it was we got computers. At that time we lived in Ghana and our school had like computers in each classroom, and then there was a library with computers. And then we had to start taking computer lessons.
Yes.
Like on how to floppy disk. Do people even know what a floppy disk is?
Yeah. I think people know that symbol, but they don't actually know what the symbol of save
Yes,
is.
exactly.
Yeah.
It was a floppy disk, and yeah, that's kind of where my first kind of moment of knowing.
And isn't it funny? Because I'm sure, and definitely in a Zimbabwean context, computer classes were like for the dumb kids. Like people would be like,
what?
Now
Sorry.
she's doing computers. But it was like such a, like people would be like, oh my God, why don't you do maths? Why don't you do like English lit? Instead of like, but then now it's like, how funny is that? How ironic is that? Like it was just such, or it was such a class you would take if you want to just take the piss. You know, you'd like maybe like go on Paint and do a few squares and color them in, and you're like, okay, look what I did on a computer. And then now it's like, how far have we come?
True.
Because I remember even once we were in high school, we had that computer lab that was built on the new library, and people would go there to like play.
Yeah.
And it would, like she was trying to teach us like Mavis Beacon, like typing skills, and we're like, we're not here for that.
Does anyone else remember Mavis Beacon? Oh my God.
We are here to play in this class.
We've aged ourselves.
Or I want to do my other homework, you know? We did not take it seriously.
But actually, Mavis Beacon helped, because have you seen aunties typing? I will tell you that.
That one
really,
finger typing. Ting,
yeah,
ting, ting, ting.
literally. Just, yeah, it definitely has helped. But what was life like compared to now? Pre-internet.
Oh.
Like maybe let's say the little Gen Alpha, no?
This is for Jerome and his friends.
Yeah, exactly. Let's let them know.
I feel like life was simpler, but we didn't know. Yeah. And privacy was granted automatically.
True.
You didn't have to work so hard to have it.
Yes.
You know, your details. I mean, email. I actually remember when email started, and my dad had his email.
Yeah.
And like we would all get like, people would be like, oh, what's your email? I'm like, oh, I don't have one, but my dad has one.
Yeah.
And like literally he would then like print, if someone emailed you, you would like print, because I think we went on French tour in Form 4. So we were like 16, 17, went to France. And then obviously obviously in Europe it was a bit more advanced. So people would be like, oh, what's your email? And you're like, oh, it's okay, just email my dad. And like, because I think we thought of it like posting a letter, like, oh, he can go to the letterbox for you.
Yeah.
You know, so I remember like handing out my email to like my dad's email to like all these people. And then like you know, when we got back to Zim, people would like email me and then we would like print it out and I'm like, oh, okay. Then I'd come to his office and reply via his email.
Oh my
Obviously, this man could see everything you were reading, but we weren't even thinking that way.
Yeah.
To me, it was just like, oh my gosh, it's a cool way to communicate. And then I went for holidays to the UK. Until this day, my very first email has .uk.
Yes.
Because that's where I set up my first email. My cousins were onto it. Again, Europe was a bit more advanced. But it was just so innocently walking into the internet.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, and dial up. Remember that? And like the phone. You'd be like, get off the phone, I'm downloading. Or, you know.
Oh,
wow.
trash.
It's utter trash.
Yo.
Do you have any core memories?
Pre-internet, I just remember we were outside.
Yeah.
Like you were playing outside. That's where the fun was. I was a bookworm, so I was always reading books. Life was very insular, like very like sheltered in a really real way.
Definitely.
And then a core memory of us having our first computer at home, my parents set up in our study, and we used to play these computer games like Tekken. Was Tekken on the... No, I think it was PlayStation. But we played like this car racing game. I forget the names of these games and whatever. And Minesweeper.
Like Minesweeper.
Oh my gosh. Solitaire.
Yes, Solitaire.
And it was like you just while away time just on this thing. Dial-up was real and it'd take forever to connect. And your parents would be like, don't forget to disconnect. Don't forget to disconnect the internet. Because and I just remember being like, oh gosh.
Yeah.
But those are my core. I don't know.
Definitely. It was just, and even the Y2K, we talked about this the other day. We're like, do people even realize it was such a stress for people? Like, what's going to happen when we move from 99 to 2000?
Yeah, they even had songs like Will Smith. Man, we're gonna party like it's 19. Hold up, it is. Here we
Remember always
come.
Singing as we love her to do.
Year, yeah, everyone.
And like waiting for tonight. Remember J-Lo's video and when like all the ball would drop.
Yes, and then
Isn't
it went
that
down.
Insane. Yeah.
We didn't really know what the era would hold. I think I can liken it to what AI is now.
Yes.
Like how everyone kind of knows this AI is a buzzword, but there's a bit of anxiety around what it means for humanity.
And harnessing the power of such. Yeah.
And we literally saw that shift happen. And it's so interesting it happened at the shift from us going from primary school to high school.
Definitely.
So it's like literally,
And then high school just like solidified. So by the time you finished high school, we were now kind of fully gated. That's when social media, as in Facebooks and them started, that aspect of the internet, right?
For sure.
Before in high school it was just like, okay, can you play solitaire? Can you familiarize yourself with the computer?
Yes.
And then after that was, what's your identity on the internet?
Yes.
You know, isn't that... Because I really am so grateful that now we didn't have that in high school.
I agree.
I didn't have an Instagram. I didn't have Facebook. You know, whereas now for kids, it's so standard.
Here's a question for the girlies and guys. I don't know what's the equivalent of
girly
girlies.
pops.
Girly pops and everyone, like high school age. How are they coping? Living with the internet being such an integral part. Because when we were in high school, even our phones, we weren't allowed phones on us until we were in...
Fifth form?
Fifth form.
Yeah.
A block, you could get it. I think A block
For
was
longer
form 4.
hours,
You could get it for longer hours when we were about 16.
Yeah.
But literally, and we used to play, like, what was that game? Snake on our phone.
Yeah.
All these
Nokia
things.
3310 came in clutch.
Clutch, exactly.
Nokia dropped the ball because they really were
Yeah,
at the
they were
forefront.
on the game, and they were on the money.
And like, it's so funny because now in Australia, they're trying to revamp that, like 16-year-olds plus have phone access or on social media. Like, so it's almost like in some ways our teachers at the time were ahead of the curve in terms of controlling and limiting, and you cannot focus on school if you have the world in your pocket. Like it's just, it doesn't work. So I really wonder, like, now how they navigate. Do they
and the
do
bullying
the same
too? Like, it's just insane.
Yeah.
And I wonder if they have classes on the internet. I know my sister's a teacher, and they do have like kind of safety classes, but we didn't have none of that.
Yeah, which actually brings us to think, what are the benefits or the drawbacks of having the world in your pocket, do you think?
Listen, firstly, we wouldn't even be podcasting if there was no internet.
Yes.
Number one. Accessibility is probably the biggest thing. Media houses had the power.
Yeah.
You know, if you loved a celeb, you waited until someone published something on them. Announcements were made through media.
Yeah.
And then if you lived in countries like Zimbabwe where you were so far removed, you barely had access.
Yeah, I remember we would like share magazines.
Yes.
Like someone would come with a magazine, you'd be like, oh, and then that's when you would get the latest news.
Exactly.
From You Magazine, Cosmo.
Exactly. Now it's like you see your favorite celeb somehow and you're lucky and can get a selfie and you share that. Like, oh, and people get where they are. So access, and then obviously as more access happens, the cost of these things, internet, Wi-Fi, phones goes down. And that's why more people can podcast now. It's not just media houses with radio shows.
Yeah.
So it all kind of ripple effects. My work, I don't think I would have, like, my work is dependent on the internet. Research, like, we used to go to the library. And read encyclopedias.
And drive our librarian crazy. I forget what his name was now.
Oh, what is
but in high school, we were like, you'd be like, shush. And you're like, dude.
I'm just trying to do my research.
We're talking, we're chit-chatting.
Yeah,
but...
And for you?
I think, look, the benefit is having access to information.
True.
And equal access. Like everyone can, as long as you have internet, everyone can reach that website.
Yes.
There's no, because as you said, we had to depend on libraries, and then you'd have to depend on the stock of said library.
Yes.
But now everyone can look it up. You know, the same time, the same Netflix, for example. I mean, we just saw Beyonce Ball.
Yes.
And like everyone could see that, you know, it wasn't like an American thing, which typically never used to happen growing up.
True.
We would always wait. I remember I used to love my favorite soap opera, and like you would see South Africa would have it, and then they would like write a synopsis. You're like, oh, the person's gonna die.
Yeah,
because
no, it's crazy.
We were like a year or two
behind
because again, networks didn't. It wasn't equal access. I felt like the internet kind of smashed that. It made that all those networks that kind of like kept a lot of stuff can't do it anymore.
Like I'm sure Beyonce Ball, we would have seen it. Maybe in a couple of months. Like VMAs.
Yes.
Like if you didn't, unless you had like MTV, but then sometimes even that was delayed. It wouldn't air necessarily
like
live. You'd get the recorded.
Yeah.
Bruh.
Yeah.
The ghetto.
And obviously you don't know what you don't know. So we didn't know that there was another option where you can see at the same time as everyone else. But now that we do, that door has been like...
It's wide open.
Wide open.
Yeah.
Like, and it's just... But I think the drawbacks are privacy. Like, you know, sometimes you're just walking around and someone's taking a selfie, then now you're bombing someone else's photo. Then you think to yourself, where's this photo going?
Yes.
Who's going to see it?
Yeah.
Is my face going to be plastered? And now with AI, I'm sure celebrities are on edge because their voices and what is yours?
Yeah.
You know, if you're in your public image, even us with our podcast, will someone use my voice for something else?
Yeah.
You know, so I
definitely
think it's a new frontier in terms of privacy and what's allowed and what's not allowed. I think Europe, you guys are really good.
Yeah, GDPR rules. And
really
they even
good.
use GDPR. It's supposed to be if you don't know GDPR, it's like your data privacy laws in Europe specifically, and other regions also use GDPR as a reference point because it's quite strict. For example, I remember when Threads was first launched by Meta, I saw people in Zim talking about, I'm on Threads. Then I remember I was like, let's see what this Threads is about. And I couldn't download it in Europe because they blocked it. Probably there was some data security issues around that. And only I think it was months later, then it was released. But even then, I still haven't downloaded it because I was just like, what?
Yeah,
that put in my mind,
yeah.
what are they taking away? So definitely that privacy and how I think the funny thing is I remember growing up and people were like, ads, ads are in a face, but now literally it's on our phone, ads all the time.
Yeah.
And obviously now businesses are getting smart and you pay to not have ads, but you're not going to pay every single website or whatever to not have ads, but it's this constant overload of information.
Yeah.
I think the mental implications are really large when it comes to the internet that we don't necessarily know. And probably it's going to affect maybe our generation more because we lived without and then with.
So you know what life could be like without it. Yeah, because sometimes it's like, go and climb a tree. Like what we said last season, it was on our special.
Hug a tree,
It's
walk barefoot.
Hug a tree, touch some grass. Because really, people get so keyboard warrior and you're like, would you say this in front of someone? So I think the internet has allowed people to have a voice, but sometimes it's too much.
And it's affecting our health, not just mentally too, because like I was saying with work, you work on a computer all day, you're not getting the movement you need, you're not getting the fresh air you need. You have to make a conscious decision constantly. And I'm sure, you know, you could speak from a parenting side. I'm sure when Jerome now is on playing video games or whatever, he could spend the whole day just doing that and not actually. You remember when we were kids and it was TV before it was the internet? It was like you can only watch for so long. Now it's time for you to read books.
Or you also depend on the TV station because they could just flip on you and put the news.
Yes, exactly. But like how our parents would be like, go outside, go read a book, go. You literally have to make the conscious decision to do that because they say that sitting is the new smoking for our generation.
Oh, definitely. And I mean, like, look, even with the TV stations, they would put the cartoons or whatever at appropriate times or like at least for time blocks. But now, if I said to Jerome, oh, it's 11 o'clock, there's no Thomas the Tank Engine, you'd be like, what do you mean? Just press play.
Yes.
You know, because even if it's not on the internet, you can download it. You can. So it's just having that access 24/7.
Exactly.
People are losing sleep. People be like, oh, I went to bed early, then doom scrolled TikTok for 3 more hours.
Yeah.
So then people are getting little sleep. So it's like all this is like you need to really like control. It's almost like in some ways we have to go back to old school alarm clocks.
Yep, we're talking about that.
Just to try now regain what used to be so normal.
Normalcy, And I think I will also say, sometimes I find myself like just reaching for the phone. Any moment you have like a pocket, let's say you sat down to dinner or to watch a movie with a spouse or someone, and then let's say they just need to quickly do something. As soon as they leave, you find you like... reach for the phone.
And it's like feeling that boredom.
Exactly. And I've read this article which talked about, I think it was in the New York Times, children need to get bored because it fosters creativity. And basically the author was saying that when she was a kid, if she ever went to her mom and was like, Mom, I'm bored, mom would be like, so? And like, go to your room or whatever. And then you start coming up with stories and ideas, and that really helps creativity. But now we just fill it with like, okay, here you go, pick up your phone, do this, that, and the other. And you hear a lot of creators now say you should spend more time creating than you do consuming content. But it's like you need to foster that and exercise that muscle more. Otherwise, you just constantly thinking there's something better out there and you can't get your brain working.
I mean, I must admit, even with Jerome, I'm like, oh my gosh, he should be fine being bored, because you start to think, even if it's not, even just consumerism is now on a whole other, because of the internet too. Amazon, you're like, oh, I need that toy, bam, tomorrow it's here, or even the same day it's here. So it's like, then you start to spend more, have more, like everything is just more. So now to almost go to that under consumption lifestyle, it's a very conscious decision that everyone needs to make, I think, at some point, because it does become too much.
It's too much, and it's scary.
Too much of a good thing is a bad thing.
It's a bad thing. Knowing what you know now, though, would you go back to not having the internet at all?
No, look, our friendship itself is heavily dependent on... I can't imagine waiting for a letter from you. Please write me a letter. I want a love letter from you.
And imagine,
like, you know, I can't imagine. We had it in high school. I think we would probably be one of the very few last years who used letters as a form of communication. There's some friends I have still now who went to different high schools, and we would write each other letters. I mean, towards the end of, you know, the 6 years we were there, towards the end, we were now using our phones and texting. But and even the text, they would always be like shorthand, because you want to fit it all in the one text and not pay
limits.
for another.
Per message.
Character limits. But like, I can't imagine now not having access to you, for example. As much as we're like, oh my God, long distance sucks, I also know you're a call away.
Yeah, essentially.
So even if I have to wait for time difference, at some point you're going to wake up, at some point you're going to look at your phone. And sometimes we are on the same, we're not on the same time, but we're both awake. So I can't imagine not having that.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it's only just what do we do with our downtimes. Like, I love it when I see people out for dinner and they put their phones in a bowl or something. So I think it's at some points I love to see people making conscious decisions not to use it. So I think that's more where our education lies. How do we use this big, powerful thing we've had? And we let everything happen, but now I think people are going back to, okay, I need to put boundaries.
They say the world is going to move towards more human connection. Experiences are going to become more and more valuable because we are so dependent and
crave
reliant
it.
on our phones and the internet.
Yeah, what do you think for you?
I definitely don't think I could go back because I think it's democratized a lot. Even I was thinking travel, like travel agents. Remember how you need to rely on them on what the best deal was? Now you've got your sky scanners and all this. So many things that have given us a sense of independence.
Yeah.
I'll never forget my parents saying to me, "You'll never get a job from the internet." And I'm like, literally, my life's work is dependent on the internet.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of my career hinges on that, and a lot of independence hinges on that. But I think you'd almost want like a course that everyone has to go through, like pre-internet course, which obviously you don't know until you know. And to what she said, I think that conscious decision to say, I'm going to make sure mentally I'm okay, detoxing, you know, giving yourself limits of how long, reading. Like I've had to make conscious efforts before going to bed sometimes, and I'm still not good at this, to read instead of being on my phone. Because my sleep was now affected. So there's all these things that play a part. And also the anxiety of someone's going to message me, someone's going to call me, what am I going to...
Yeah, and I have to answer them right now. It also gives you that feeling, right?
Yes.
But it's so funny, we talked about access before. Because I think access is also on the other side where it's going to become more and more expensive. All these streaming platforms, no ads, blah, blah. So it's almost like we're going to get controlled on the other end too. Like you want this, you pay for it. And not everyone will be able to afford. Like I know Netflix now is like, you can't have 5 households with the same Netflix account.
They're really making us Popeyes. Netflix, get your thing together.
You also don't have the same Netflix.
Bruh.
So it's like, but I'm not getting everything that America gets. Geolocation, all that stuff. So it's almost like we're still...
They're really playing with us, bro.
You know what we talked about in the beginning of the episode, like how TV stations, some of them would get stuff late.
Yes.
We still kind of have that, but just in a different tier system.
Yeah.
So it's crazy.
Yeah. We need to democratize more.
Yeah.
Yeah,
definitely.
Definitely.
Oh my gosh. I can't believe you're here. We're getting back into podcasting.
Hey, so for those of you who didn't think we'd be back, guess who's back? back
again.
No, this is exciting.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you for having me and not being like, girl, bye.
No, it's been such a pleasure to have you. We want you all the time. We are starting a petition for Rimbi just to move to Australia. Okay?
Look, I'm having fun looking after Jerome or spending time with baby Jerome. And obviously
and enjoying the sunshine, I'm sure.
Bruh, I'm that weirdo smiling and walking around like, ooh, sunshine.
Be careful of
Anywho, thanks so much.
Catch you on the next episode, guys.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.